Travel Through Grief. Memorial Day bonus episode, Returning the Memory Home. Welcome back to Travel Through Grief. I'm Ellen Beckemeyer, and I'm a Martha Beck Life Train Coach. Today is Memorial Day. For many people, the weekend marks the beginning of summer. The grills come out, families gather, road trips begin, and pools open. There's graduation parties that are underway, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with celebrating life this weekend. In many ways, that's part of what Memorial Day asks us to do. But before we rush into summer, Memorial Day invites us to pause, to remember, to honor, to tell stories, to speak names, to make sure that the people who came before us are not forgotten. As America moves through its 250th anniversary year, I've been thinking about why Memorial Day still matters, and perhaps more importantly, why it began in the first place. Now, most holidays begin with legislation, but Memorial Day, well, that began with grief. You see, after the Civil War, communities throughout the country were carrying unimaginable loss. Families that had to bury their sons, their brothers, their fathers, husbands, and friends. Entire towns had empty seats in church, around the dinner tables, and on front porches. The nation was wounded. People were grieving. And long before Congress officially recognized Memorial Day, ordinary Americans began decorating graves with flowers. Families and communities gathered, stories were shared, memories were preserved. People simply refused to let sacrifice be forgotten. In fact, so many communities began these remembrance ceremonies that historians still debate who was first. You see, various cities, states, the veteran organizations, and memorial groups, they all claim a role in creating what eventually became Memorial Day. There are arguments about who held the first observance, who organized the first ceremony, who decorated graves first. So who does deserve the credit? And honestly, I find that part fascinating. Not the arguing part, but the caring part. The fact that so many people wanted to honor the dead that over 150 years later, we are still discussing who first stepped forward to remember. That tells us something. It tells us remembrance matters. It mattered enough for people to organize around it, to preserve it, to protect it, to pass it on from one generation to the next. Eventually, what became known as Decoration Day grew into the Memorial Day we observe today. A national act of remembrance, a national pause, also a national promise. We will remember. And perhaps that's why Memorial Day continues to resonate. Because grief is not only personal, it's collective. Entire communities can grieve. Entire generations can grieve. And especially entire nations can grieve. And America has been doing that throughout its history. We often talk about division today. The political division, cultural division, generational division, and social division. Sometimes it feels like everyone is angry. Everyone is arguing. Everyone is choosing sides. But you know, division is not new. America has experienced disagreement before, conflict before, uncertainty before. And yet, Memorial Day reminds us of something remarkable. People who disagreed on many things still found ways to honor sacrifice. They still found ways to remember. They still found ways to tell the stories. Because you see, remembrance became larger than the disagreement. And perhaps that's one of the lessons Memorial Day still offers us. Not that everyone must think the same, not that every conflict disappears, but that our shared humanity matters, that the dignity matters, that gratitude matters, and most of all, that honoring sacrifice matters. For at least one day each year, we pause so that the argument's long enough to remember the people behind the history. We remember the human beings, the families, the lives, and the stories. One of my favorite Memorial Day traditions is watching the National Memorial Day concert on PBS. Every year I look forward to it. All the different music, the stories, especially the tributes. Watching the military families, seeing the veterans stand, the moments of remembrance. And over the years, it has become even more meaningful to me. After my boyfriend passed away, I began experiencing that concert differently, especially when they play the songs representing each branch of military service. The Marine Corps hymn isn't just a military song to me anymore. It carries memories. It carries a person, a relationship, a voice, a chapter of my life. And every year, when I hear those familiar notes begin, I feel something. Maybe you know what I mean. Maybe for you it's a song or a photograph, a favorite recipe, a military uniform. Maybe it's a piece of jewelry or a baseball cap, a handwritten note, or holiday tradition. Something that immediately brings something back into the room, not physically, but emotionally and spiritually, in memory. That's one of the reasons I believe memories matter so much. You see, they become bridges. A song can become a bridge. A story becomes a bridge. That photograph becomes a bridge. And a tradition, Memorial Day tradition, that becomes a bridge. For a moment, someone we miss feels close again. Not because grief disappears, but because the love remembers. And Memorial Day is ultimately about remembering. Not simply remembering military history, remembering the people. Because behind every uniform was a human being. Someone's son or daughter, someone's husband or wife, a parent, a grandparent, a best friend, and in my case, a great love. Someone who laughed and dreamed and mattered. The older I get, the more I realize that memory itself is an act of service. When we tell a story, we serve that memory. When we share a photograph, we serve the memory. When we teach the younger generations family history, we serve the memory. Preserve the recipes, the letters, traditions, the military records, the journals, photographs and stories. Serve the memory. We become caretakers of legacy, and perhaps that responsibility belongs to all of us. Not just on Memorial Day, every day. Because one of the greatest fears many grieving people carry is that their loved one will eventually be forgotten. Those stories won't be told, those photographs won't be viewed, and most of all, the names won't be spoken. Will the memories just fade? But Memorial Day each year offers another possibility. It reminds us that remembrance can be intentional. We can choose to remember. We can choose to tell the story again, to share the photograph again. We can choose to say the name again, and we can choose to honor the life again. That choice matters. And perhaps that is what returning the memory home really means. Not returning to the past, not living in yesterday, but carrying forward what deserves to be carried forward. This weekend, think about the courage, the sacrifice, the love, the lessons, the values, the stories, and the people. So wherever Memorial Day finds you this year, at a family gathering, or maybe at a cemetery, or watching a Memorial Day parade, listening to the music, traveling somewhere new. For me, watching the National Memorial Day concert, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts. I hope you take a few moments to remember this weekend. Speak that name, tell that story, look through an old photograph album, and most of all, ask a family member about someone who served. Share the memories. Keep the legacy alive. Because people may leave this world, but love leaves traces, and memories are one of the ways we carry that forward. Today's reflection, I want you to answer some of these questions to yourself. Who are you remembering today? And what story about them deserves to be told again? In today's whisper moment, just remember their life mattered, their sacrifice mattered, and their story still matters. In our lighthouse moment today, may we honor those who served. May we cherish those we love. May we carry forward the memories entrusted to us. And may we never forget that remembrance is one of the purest forms of love. So until next time, keep finding your way forward. If this episode connected with you, I'd love for you to follow our podcast, leave a review, or share it with someone who may need it. Those small actions truly help new podcasts like Travel Through Grief grow and reach more people. And thank you to everyone who has already listened, rated, reviewed, and supported this journey. I appreciate you more than you know. Until next time, keep finding your way forward.